All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:01. Let me just quickly go over the board norms, which are to maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
We had a conversation about coaching under new business.
Coaching under new business. Is this a contractual
Policy discussion.
policy discussion? Okay. Okay, anything? Yes, go ahead.
Under the budget discussion, if we can also have a brief discussion on the articles of agreement, articles for the warning. Sorry.
Under old business?
Yeah, wherever we're talking about the budget, just,
Got it.
we won't be making any motions on the articles, but just a discussion around the articles for
Okay,
the warning.
got it. All right. We'll just put that under budget then. All right, so warning. Got it. All right, anything else? Seeing none? Student report?
Our winter sports program is ending next week. Everyone's really sad to see it go. Everyone really enjoys winter sports, but we're all getting excited for the new PBL things that they just announced today, all the new PBL projects and groups that we'll be working with. Our snowboard team has been working really hard, and I don't think they get talked about a lot, so it was really cool. One of the members got a 5th place in their last event, which was very exciting. The theater program is currently working on The Emperor's New Clothes, and we're taking it to a theater festival up at Thetford Academy where we compete against 4 other schools. Top 2 move on to the Vermont Theater Festival, and then it just keeps going to New England and further. But we're preparing a lot, and we're hoping to do very well.
Great. Eli?
We had Hoops for Hope this weekend for basketball teams. The boys played on Friday and the girls were on Saturday. It was a very, very successful weekend. The boys won versus Green Mountain, which if you know the context with Green Mountain, it feels very good. And the girls won also on Saturday, so we had 2 wins. It was a great event. Tammy and everybody set it up, did a very nice job, so we're happy.
Eli, that's an understatement about Green Mountain. Yeah, that's. I talked to both my older boys, and they had never beaten Green Mountain. So yeah, congratulations, fantastic job. Only time you had the lead was in the last 7 seconds of the game. So that's all that matters. Awesome, thank you. All right, consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Okay. Any discussion? Anybody have their name spelled wrong or we're here? We're here. No? All right. I will, who do we have out here? Let's see. I'm sorry. I can't.
Emily.
We got Emily, we got Lindsay. Who else is out there? Anybody? Can you say it over? Just want to make sure I've got everybody out there. Okay.
Lindsay and I.
Great. Thanks, Emily. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. Correspondence. Did we have any correspondence? Seeing none, let's get right into old business. Budget. Did I see a budget and then just an ND draft? Assume second, third, fourth? No.
I think it's the 3rd draft.
Third
Really
draft?
nothing changed in the 2nd, but there's some changes to this one.
Yeah, I know it was like fast and furious between the last meeting and this meeting. Yeah, did you want to go over that?
Sure. So you have the updated budget in front of you. The changes that were made to this draft remove all of the health and safety according to Act 72 comprehensive needs assessment, all those deferred maintenance budget items, which was accounted for about $1.6 million. That was removed based on what's happening at the legislative body. The budget does include a $150,000 transfer to capital, which has been consistent over the last few years. We did reduce the summer and after-school funding, mainly for the summer program, of $67,000 because we recently were awarded a grant that Liz and Jamie wrote for the summer camp program, which is really great. It will mean, the grant is for 1 year, so it might mean putting it back in for fiscal year 26, but we took it out for fiscal year 25. You also have a letter from Jamie, I think, in your packet. And just today, he said that in the pre-registration, there are 77 students signed up for summer camp already. So that's pretty impressive right now. Because of the removal of the 5% cap, there was an increase in the yield. So that's reflected in the budget documents. And just before I came up here, I also sent you a revised profit and loss, which we'll talk about. So let's talk about the changes that are going on. We are getting emails on a daily basis. It's really hard to keep up, and it's pretty disappointing that we're changing the way things are being done halfway through the budgeting, or mostly through the budgeting process for a lot of districts, but this is what we see coming. It's not law yet that they remove the 5% cap, but it does seem like something like this will happen. So what they decided to do was, when they took away the 5% cap, they're still giving districts, 38 districts out of 122, a discount on their tax rate based on whether or not they gained or lost taxing capacity. So for Wyndham Central, that was only one district, which was Stratton, which we knew a couple of years back when Act 127 was being discussed that Stratton probably would lose taxing capacity. So Stratton qualifies because of that for a discount. None of the other districts in our SU do. So, and just to kind of point out the issue I see with that is that Stratton gets an 11-cent discount on their tax rate this year, and then it steps down over time, over the next 4 years. And they can't take advantage of it because their tax rate is $1 and you can't go below $1. So, well, we have districts that are over $2, but so there's some not exact science with this. It is a way to look at it, and certainly probably should have been looked at it this way to begin with. So that's where we find ourselves. So we have removed any of the deferred maintenance, and also some of the things that were considered health and safety items from the budget at this point. So the budget document that I gave you has the summary sheet on here, and so it's putting your unified tax rate at $1.67, which is 3.5 cents less than it was last year. The yield could potentially go up to $9,775. Again, we won't know what the yield does until the end of the cycle, which will be in May or June, probably June. And then I broke down for you what this looks like for the taxpayer. So you can see that the tax rate increase at the bottom of this. I'm looking at this page. Everybody's got that. Sorry. Let's make sure we're on the same page. You can see that the tax rate increase based on expenses, it's negative $35 for the taxpayer. So if you just break out the the expense increase, that's what it looks like. So that the other column is the tax rate increase due to the CLA. So you can see where the issue lies here. It's really in the CLA dropping off so much, which you don't have any control over. So that is pretty much the updates. I do, you want me just to continue on?
Sure.
Okay, conversation, all right. So in looking at this and knowing that there are still quite a few needs out there in the building, in the buildings right now, I put together a document which you just have here, right here, and I sent it online for those that are online, just before the meeting started. So everything that's grayed, darker gray, is what we would consider really needs to be done in the next year or so. So throughout all of the buildings there. So I also sent, just before I came up, I sent a revised profit and loss document, which I forgot and left on the copier, so I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you that the one I sent before, it looked like, what, 400, that packet, please. It was around $400,000 yeah, $405,000, looking like that's what the surplus was gonna be at the end of the fiscal year. Of course, we know things come in, things go out, but that's would be my projection right now. But Heidi just included the revenue that we'll be receiving from Wyndham and also some other tuition revenue. So we've updated that and it's looking like around $700,000. Again, it'll be less than that, but still looking like a pretty healthy surplus coming out of 24. So my thought process around this was to recommend to you, instead of on your articles, you have any surplus moving into operational, and maybe changing that for this year to move any surplus into capital, so that some of these items on the list that the FCA, I keep calling it the CNA, there's so many acronyms, but facilities, what was it? Facility something assessment. So this was what was just done through Act 72. So those were the ones that were flagged as immediate needs. So it would take care of quite a few immediate needs. If you put the 150 that is in the budget and then added the surplus to the capital. So, and that's on the second page. You can kind of see the math being done on that there.
Can you just briefly go over the distinction between putting it in the cap budget versus?
Right, so the capital has to be used for capital projects, and the operational reserve can be used for a variety of different things, as how West River set it up. It can be used to offset the tax rate. It can be used for emergencies that come up. And currently, actually I brought that too. We don't have a final draft of the budget of the audit yet, but I do have a draft. And so right now, at the end of 23, you have a little over $1 million, $1,073,000 in the operation reserve fund. And as you can see on here, at the end of 23, you have $178,000 for the capital. So it may be time to make a move and put money into the capital versus which is Al's gonna ask me, so I had it figured out here, 7% of your budget is in the operational reserve. So that's pretty healthy, yeah. So questions?
What would that put us with, for in total capital then?
So if we,
300,000?
right, yeah, 850. So, which would get spent out, I mean, whether we could get to all these projects in one year is that's probably maybe biting off more than Greg can chew. But it could go, capital just carries forward, so it would just be done in the next year. So there was an email that just came out, and I haven't had a chance to really read it, from Jeff Francis. Bob, did you get a chance to read that while you're behind the scenes over there?
Yeah, I mean, in short, he's giving, it's the VSBA and the VSA giving, and I guess from the Secretary of State's office, basically giving an update on what on H 850, which is a I don't know, correction, if you will, to 127, in that it removes the cap. But part of this, what it does is it allows you to delay your budget vote for districts who have already warned and adopted and warned and sort of set a vote time already. You guys haven't done that yet, but you hope to do adoption tonight. What they're basically saying is that they describe the process for how it will work if you have to delay and who pays for what and so on and so forth. And it gives the legal ground for you to do so if you chose to. So if you were a district that had already adopted and warned your vote, and then you realized that the cap wasn't going to apply, and then you wanted to undo what you had done, you could do so. It's basically the premise of this, while they're still sorting out what the rest of it will look like. And I think that's, I don't know, Emily, does that sound accurate based on what you're seeing? Yeah, she's nodding. So that's really the gist of it.
And does it, because West River has not approved a budget and moved forward and warned it, could they still delay if they wanted to based on this? I think there was an allowance for that, right?
Yeah, it basically said that there was a previous Act 1 in 23, which you could move your annual meeting to a date later in the year. And so what they're saying is that you could utilize that to move your vote now rather than waiting for H 850 to get passed and signed into law. So this is a way they're basically giving you guidance on how to delay it before the law becomes in place that would specifically allow you to delay it, I think is how I'm reading this. And they're talking about a potential April 15th as a deadline for your vote.
That is all correct.
So I guess the question for this board is, do you need to go through a delay, or is your current annual meeting, which is later than town meeting day anyways, sufficient, or do you want to wait and see what happens with more legislative changes along the way? Because there's nothing, I mean, this is, I think, where people are feeling like this is where it's leaning, but obviously there's no guarantees. So Emily, I'm sure, can again say way more about that than I can.
And I'm happy to.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah,
I get recognized. Everything you said is correct, Bob. Thank you. The intent of this potential delay is for those school districts who have warned their budgets already, but have found out after the fact that the cap is going away. So there are mechanisms in place to allow not only for school districts to rewarn their budgets, but to have those costs of rewarning their budget paid for by the state because it's come after they've already warned. There's no reason why that wouldn't apply to us, but it wasn't intended for school districts who hadn't warned theirs because they still had time to make adjustments. So it's totally up to this board as to whether they do it or not. And I'll just say, I don't expect this to move slowly. I expect this to move very rapidly, meaning even this week. It needs to go through. It's already been, I actually didn't check to see if it was voted out of appropriations, but I believe it was today. And it will move very rapidly through the House, possibly even with potentially with all stages of passage to send it over to the Senate very quickly. So the decision has been made. There was some intent language, I believe, added today to talk about what next steps will be. The intent has always been to not end the discussion here, but this is a start to a discussion. Lori talked a little bit about the challenges we're facing. We know that, there's sort of a perfect storm going on, and it feels pretty important right now for all of us, I think both locally, state and statewide, and in the legislature, that the conversation around how we deliver and pay for public education is critically important right now and needs a real hard look. So some intent language was added. Anybody can look at the bill to 850 to see what that intent language was, to say that that's our intent, to continue this conversation as rapidly as possible. And the need to move this as rapidly as possible is due to the fact that if we do not do this, every single school district in the state will see an increase, regardless of where you stand with 127, because the language of the law allowed something that was beyond the intent of the law. So this new bill, 850, takes us back to what the intent of the law was, to allow school districts who are negatively impacted by the change in weights to still have a glide path through the process of the change in weights, the ones who are negatively impacted. I recognize how challenging this is for all school districts, and I know that there was some significant hope that we would have some additional taxing capacity so that we could do some of the work that is needed at every school district, including ours, across the state. But if we all take advantage of that opportunity that was given to us through this law, it was going to send our tax rate far beyond what the December 1st letter showed it was going to be, which was already high. So it felt like there was a very critical need to act rapidly. And I think you heard me talk about this at the last meetings. The first one was in December when I first found out about this language that was allowing this. And I also tried to say, hold off at the last meeting to make sure that we didn't move forward warning a budget that my understanding was the law was probably going to change, and that has come to fruition. So I wish there was a smoother path for all this, but it honestly is a real challenge right now. One of the opportunities that we're hearing about this conversation is that there is a lot more recognition going on at a state level and statewide about the challenges that school districts are facing right now, given all the needs in our buildings from our students, the needs in our buildings from our construction issues across the state. And so I'm trying to see this as an opportunity for us to shift the way we're operating, and we'll see how fast we can move that. But I do think we're going to start talking about this right after the town meeting break. So I'm happy to answer questions, but that's pretty much it in the summary. I do not expect this to take long at all to pass through.
Thanks, Emily. Would you say, based on actions that Lori has taken to take out the 1.6 and everything else, that we're in a position to approve a budget, or do you think there are other changes that we should be looking out for?
I do not see any other changes coming, but of course, there's no way I can guarantee that because you never know what amendments might happen. And plus, it needs to go through the Senate, and the Senate needs to make their approval as well. But the governor does support this, so I don't see, as long as there isn't a lot of change, I don't see the governor vetoing this. I think there's strong support in the House for doing this. My guess is there'll be strong support in the Senate. But again, I can't make any guarantees because that never works to do that. But my gut tells me we're not going to make some significant changes that would require us to delay this vote. I also just, well, I'll leave it at that.
Al, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
So right now, with your annual meeting scheduled for the 26th, we have at the bottom of your agenda a potential special meeting date for the 21st, which would give us the ability to have the warning adopted and a budget adopted in time within time frame that's legal, and also in time to get us to a printer for annual report. And I guess my question is more for Emily. Between now and the 21st, is that like a timeline? Do you think it's reasonable that this will be completed, or is that too quick of a timeline?
I think it's going to be completed much more quickly than that. I can't predict what will happen, but given the need for rapid decisions around this, and given the support that I'm hearing all around me for doing this, I can't see this taking very long. I mean, it's possible we'll even see suspension of rules to move this fast because it's that critical. So today's the 12th. We could see it over in the Senate by the end of this week. And if the Senate moves it quickly by the end of next week or even much earlier, it's possible that it'll get to the desk of the governor.
So just to clarify for the board, it sounds like what I'm hearing with 850, if 850 passes, you could in fact adopt a budget tonight if the bottom line is where you want to be. If something changes with 850 that, as Emily references, and you have a special meeting anyways for the warning, the article warnings on the 21st, you could at that point undo that adoption of the budget and re-adopt a newer budget on the 21st. Does that sound correct, Emily?
That sounds correct to me. There's a 30 to 40 day warning period, and I'm assuming that I didn't count the dates, but I'm sure you did. So
yeah, so that's within that window. So I believe that you would be able to still hit the annual meeting on a timely manner if you were to do that. So you could adopt, or you could delay adopting till the 21st, but it doesn't seem like there's any harm in adopting if you're okay with the expenditure side of this, because you're going to have the opportunity to undo it if something changed in the meantime. So
that's correct. I will just say that the response from our administration, re-offering this budget with the 1.6 whatever out of the budget, based on new information. I am seeing a lot of school districts taking a similar action, depending on what their decisions were. And if that all plays out in the way that is hoped and intended, we will see some significant tax relief. It will still be tax increase this year. We knew things were going to go up this year because of for example, one example is health insurance costs have gone up. But it is the numbers that I was seeing, if we did not take action on with H850, were absolutely scary. The much higher increases in our property tax rates. So,
Thanks, Emily. Bob, or Emily, whoever knows, special meetings, is it 24 or 48 hours?
Special meetings are 24.
24, okay, so we could, if need be, on the 20th, make a decision to have a meeting on the 21st.
yeah, I think you have to meet at some point to do the article warnings, because we didn't have that warned for tonight for action. So you will need a special meeting at some point just to minimally adopt those warnings that you need.
Okay. So regardless,
that's on me. I guess it's too early anyways right now, so you probably can't do it legally now anyways, but yeah, so you need a special meeting regardless.
Okay. Great. So we might as well go ahead and warn that then. Yeah.
Because who knows what they're going to come up with between now and the 20th.
Right. So
Could be anything.
Yeah. So, right, so we could have two items on that, the annual meeting warning and budget for the special meeting. Great. Lori, sorry, anything else on?
No, I just wanted to follow up with what Emily said about looking at the pressures on the school districts, and we were asked to do a data collection, pretty intense data collection in a very short time frame, to collect the data that really will tell the legislators where the pressures are coming from. So we pulled together and got that done. So I think that Emily is indicating that they will turn around and start looking at some of these pressures on the school districts.
That is true, and I would just say that while I don't expect sudden changes to be made, my recommendation will be to not look at it from a dollar perspective first, but look at it from an education perspective first. So hopefully expect the first stages of this next phase of looking at our education delivery and funding system to start in the education committees. And because I do think we need to start being very realistic about what we are, what we're facing in our systems today. And so that's where I want to see it start. Once we have that foundation of the type of education we want to provide for our students and our parents and our families and our communities, then we can start looking at a way to fund it that is comprehensive and understandable. So I would expect we're going to talk about some significant changes around how we fund education down the road. But the first conversation should be about what kind of education we want to provide or we need to provide for our students in this state. And to do that, it needs to start with what Lori just said. We need to understand what we're actually up against here. And what do our kids really need? So.
Thanks, Emily. That's a great point. Just out of curiosity, so we've done our own capital needs assessment. That's part of long-term planning and all that. I assume there has been a statewide version, or there is a statewide version of this that just in kind of thinking about the equity piece of it, where some folks are way ahead on their capital needs assessment and have new buildings, and we do not. We're kind of the haves and have-nots. So I'm hoping that will be part of the overall assessment at the state level in terms of where districts are at.
That's already started, quite far into that. That is happening. No matter what, that's happening. We're looking at the need to create a new capital construction aid program for the state because the needs are so great. The costs are significant, but combining both that need and the need to relook at how we're delivering education and paying for it need to go hand in hand. So the answer is absolutely yes. And, included in that is the challenge we're facing constantly about PCPs. So none of that work is slowing down. That's continuing, and it will sort of work together with the rest of it.
Great, thanks.
Al, can I follow up with one question from Emily on that?
Sure.
Emily, the sort of the word on the street within the superintendent's chatter is that the construction aid, when it's done, will favor the phrase newer and fewer. I don't know if that's a phrase that they're using on the Hill or not, but that's what we're talking about, the idea that rather than putting money into a bunch of old small buildings, that there's going to be a favorable look to get money towards places that are closing buildings and unifying them even into a new building, but fewer of them. Are you hearing that same chatter, or is that just the superintendent's?
I think that I'm not hearing that specific chatter, although I have heard that for years. And you will remember that when we had construction aid programs in the past, there was a 50% aid given to school districts that were merging buildings and closing a building, and only 30% for those who weren't. So I cannot expect that to shift. And I think that you're probably right about the chatter, that would probably be even more focused at this point. We do know that buildings are very aged in this state and deeply in need. So one of the things that I can't support is putting capital aid into buildings that aren't viable. And there are many of those in this state. I know of school districts that are really at the point where they're saying we can't even renovate our building anymore. It's just beyond its life span, and we need to look at something different. So I don't want to see us putting construction aid into schools that aren't going to be here for our future. And I do think that consolidation is going to be on the table, for sure. Building consolidation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other questions, budget related? Or are we ready to approve the budget?
I would recommend we wait till the next meeting, since we have to have it anyway, and see what wizardry comes out of Montpelier in the next 2.5 weeks. Maybe the yield will go up to $10,000 and we can.
Just so you know, we won't know the yield, as Lori said, until all school districts have warned theirs and voted on theirs, which is probably well into June.
Yeah.
So, who knows? We weren't supposed to get an updated yield until June as our last meeting either. And we got one, so.
Well, this isn't an official update, let me just clarify.
Well, maybe we'll get an unofficial update.
This is a unofficial, this is what the yield could do with 850.
I still kind of feel like we're shooting blindfolded. Like the law, nothing is passed anywhere yet. So we don't know for certain what's going to happen. So we're taking a reactive stance to something that hasn't happened yet. And to me, it seems to make more sense just to let it happen and then respond appropriately.
So wait another 9 days, what are you suggesting?
Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna have new information in hours.
Maybe. I mean, I'm fine with that as long as it's within the parameters of the 30 to 40 days. We're gonna meet anyway for the warning.
I would just remind you that there is an opportunity to meet and change it, as Bob said, down the road. Just this board can do whatever it wants, but.
Yep.
So we also we're running up against getting a document to your public as well. So that's the other thing is that actually the person doing your annual report emailed me today and said, I need the information so they can get it off to the printer. So just to put that out there as well.
Okay.
Of course, if you change it on the 21st, then that information is all wrong in your annual report, so. I'm not sure, but it is a real issue trying to work in the annual report.
Yeah. Other thoughts? Anybody else? Does anybody want to make a motion? I mean, obviously, we have plenty more discussion, but go ahead, Leanne.
Well, my thought was just it's much easier to amend a budget that hasn't been adopted rather than to do it after the fact. You know, it just seems a little easier rather than adopting it and then being like, oh wait, no, we got to change that. And we have to have the meeting anyways.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. There are no other thoughts on that, and there's no motion.
21st. Then we will.
Al, I would just ask if there are people have any direction for Lori around potential changes, or does the board seem satisfied with the expenditure budget from a line by line standpoint?
Yeah, I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I think, Drew, you can speak to it, but I think it's just what other information is there potentially over the next 9 days? I think that's kind of what I mean, does anybody have any disagreement with what's currently in the budget, per se? No? Okay.
May I
Go ahead,
just
Kate.
ask
Yes.
a question? Other than wild cards, do we think there are things that are gonna change that would meaningfully change the budget?
So my concern is the last board meeting was like unlikely that they're gonna change the law mid-course because people are, like, that was a month ago. And then it's like, well, they actually are gonna undo everything. So that's why I think we should wait till the last possible minute, because we sat here a month ago and the best information available that day was nothing's gonna change for this first year. So we could go ahead and approve that because nothing's really gonna change. We wait a month, it's like, oh, wait a minute, undo all of that. I think there's enough conversation going on in Montpelier that there could be a new cap. It could be, when it goes across to the Senate, maybe it's not a 5% cap, maybe they could put it back in at a 7% cap. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other, it could be anything in the middle too. I don't know, that's my concern, is that we're kind of making that decision and we don't know what they're gonna do. Whatever they do is gonna be imperfect. That I'm certain of.
All right, any other thoughts, questions? I'm sorry? Oh, Emily, sorry.
I just want to say that I just will say one correction, and that is that I recommended both at the December meeting and the January meeting that we probably ought to delay. There was a discussion to vote both in December and in January, and we ought to delay because I could see a potential change coming. So I don't think we were saying everything looks gung-ho, or we would have voted at one of those two meetings. I had worried about this from when I first heard about it when Lori brought it to us in December.
Thanks, Emily. And just so about the 21st, that's Wednesday. Issues, difficulties for people, I guess that would be another concern as well. I don't want to have 5 people showing up at a budget approval.
I'm in.
Anybody? You're in? All right.
I'm in.
Anybody not able to make that date? And Bob, is that the only?
Could you repeat that date?
Peter, I'm sorry?
Could you repeat that date, please?
Yes, Wednesday the 21st, 9 days from now.
I think, I mean, there's a different district that has a meeting the 20th, Tuesday night, and it keeps us in that 30 to 40 day window for the annual meeting schedule. So that was really why I picked it, and it's open. So that was, there really wasn't any math to it.
Oh yeah, no, totally understand. I just want to make sure that we'll have enough people there to act on it. Anybody not, we'll just ask, anybody not able to make it?
For me, it'll be up in the air.
Okay.
I'll try to be there by Zoom.
Okay, yeah. I would expect nothing less. You're a little busy up there. Okay. All right. Very good.
Al, will that be at 7?
I think 7 probably makes the most sense. Bob, does that work for you?
Pleasure of the board, whatever you guys want.
7 good? All right, 7 o'clock. 7 p.m. And we'll just do it right here as well as Zoom.
Yep, and from what I'm understanding, it sounds like we can just go ahead and warn that. There's no point in waiting until the 20th to do that at this point.
No.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, great. So moving on to long-term planning update. Lindsay, I've been talking a lot. Why don't you give an update on what we last discussed and when our next meeting is?
Hi, everybody. Hopefully my service is good enough and my kids are quiet. So we have met with a large group to sort of go over what our next steps are. And we're in the process of putting together a matrix of all of the factors that will come into play with a decision regarding long-term planning. And as we all obviously know, there is no perfect answer. There has been no magic dust since our last conversation. So our process at the moment is to basically build out a matrix that is strictly fact-based and not opinions and emotions. And we hope to have that meeting this Friday. I believe it's this Friday. Anyway, it should happen soon, and we should have some actual information to start sharing soon. I think that's about the gist of it.
Yeah, I think that was right. Yeah, I love the tack that we're taking with the matrix, and as well as being able to weight different things on it, depending on how important are factors such as transportation versus very high on the list. So it'll take it. I feel, tell me what you think, Lindsay, out of our hands after we've input the information into the matrix to say, here's a logical decision based on what you've had for the input. Nobody's gonna, or not everybody will agree with it, but it is what is deemed best. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I think it's really the best way to move forward where, no matter what we do, there's going to be some people that love it, and there's going to be some people that hate it, and there's going to be some people that are indifferent. And the most important thing is to move forward with what is actually best for educating students in our district. And by filling out the matrix, I feel like it takes some of the emotions out of it to really determine what is actually the best solution for educating our students.
Thanks, Lindsay. And as Drew said earlier, imperfect. It will be.
Most likely.
Bob, did you want to talk about the NESDEC enrollment projection?
Yeah.
I'm just going to add on to that. So yeah, Lindsay is correct. We're meeting Friday afternoon at 3:30 at Leland and Gray in the conference room. We did get some new information. I think we had talked about this at one point. I can't remember if it was in a full board or just at the long-term planning, but the enrollment projections that you guys have been operating off of for the last couple of years were developed in-house. And we recently joined, West River recently joined NESDEC, which is a New England regional school district consortium. And by doing so, for the discounted first year price, we were able to get an enrollment projection as part of that. And so I believe you guys have the materials in the board packet as well, so you can kind of see. It's not terribly different from Peter's projection. There's a few unknowns, of course, that are not factored in to that. We don't know what will happen in Wyndham. They will be voting on town meeting day whether to allow to have students tuition to public schools, presumably in lieu of running the building, but that part's unclear. And so there may be potential for incoming students from that direction. So there's, other than that variable, we have that new updated projection for you guys. So that was the only update. And then looking forward to long-term planning to continue that matrix and dig into some more fun stuff.
Thanks, Bob. All right. Let's move on to principal reports.
Actually, just Al, just a quick. Lori, I think I'd have to talk about the articles under the budget section.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Just to kind of go through them, because this is obviously my first time doing it, and I want to make sure that we're on the right track. So I took basically last year's version, have made some modifications to different dates and spaces and times and such, and trying to create the articles for this year. And Al, I think I sent you a draft of that in digital form, and also sent a hard copy up with the packets. And I didn't do one for everybody, but I just wanted to make sure you had an idea, just an opportunity to just kind of talk that through and make sure that there was nothing missing and we can nail down the details on the 21st, but I want to be prepared for you guys and make sure I'm not missing anything.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's Article 10 and Article 11 that I'm referring to, and Article 10 reads, shall the voters of West River Modified Unions, should be Education District, authorize moving the operational surplus, if any, from fiscal year 2024 to the operational reserve fund, and I would change that to the capital, is what I was recommending. And then Article 11 is, we had that on there last year because you moved some money from operational to capital, so you have to ask the voters to do that. That would be unnecessary to have that article on then for next year. So those are the two articles that I was referring to. And of course, Article 8 is asking the voters for the budget number, which we'll fill in on the 21st.
And we don't need to specify the amount.
Well, Article 10 just says moving the operational surplus, if any.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, so it's just whatever you end the year with, we'll move into capital. And if you don't want to do that, we could, you can ask the voters to split it up. There's lots of different ways, but I just wanted the board to be thinking about that recommendation in light of some of the issues that need to be addressed in capital.
And the operational surplus we are thinking of now is roughly 700,000.
No, operational right now ended the year in fiscal year 23 with $1,078,000, I think I said. So that would stand. That would keep $1,078,000 there.
Wow. That's a big move.
And then 24's potential surplus is somewhere around the 700,000 mark, give or take 100,000 or two.
Okay.
So it's still halfway through the year, so we're early yet, but.
And by moving it into capital, it's a one-way trip, right? That you go from operational to capital.
Well, we'd be going from general fund to, the surplus would be going from general fund to capital if you decided to do it this way.
Right.
Instead of operational.
Can you go from capital back to operational?
If you ask the voters, you can next year.
Fair enough. All right.
Nicely.
Yeah, right, yeah, it's very nicely. Were those the only two?
Those were the two that I wanted to just get out there ahead of time so that you have that information. You can have a discussion about it at the next meeting.
And does everybody have this in? Bob, did you?
I don't think you need it.
No.
And these are the standard ones we do every year.
They are.
Boilerplate.
Pay ourselves, budget, It's in everybody's annual report from last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is. This is just updated with the new dates and such. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Anything else on the warning? No. We'll see you next week. Let's see, principal reports. Let's start with you, Monica.
Oh, all right. What's happening at Jamaica Village School? Well, we have what's called the Writing Warriors group now. So we're reframing the whole writing process so that they are now fighting and going in, and their first report's going to be on African Americans who changed our world. And we're doing this kind of sneaky way to start preparing them for the Cognia State testing. They don't realize we're really doing that. But we're getting a lot of practice both on the computer and the research and applying nonfiction text. And our outdoor education program, our last one was facilitated by our K-2 teacher, Tina Roberts, and she did a great job on where do bugs go in the winter. And we were able to design houses for ladybugs, and we went snowshoeing and looking for tracks in the Jamaica State Park. What else is going on? Grades 3 through 5 created posters for the Green Up Day Vermont poster contest. So we've had one winner in the past. We're hoping we have another winner this year. We submitted some pretty interesting pieces of art using watercolors. And like I said, Black History Month, we're doing some celebrations, and we started it off with a tea. We had another tea party, and Dana Zazinski is our special educator and our behaviorist, so she hosted, and she chose to celebrate Amanda Gorman, and we listened to her reading her poem called Earthrise, and so we all made connections to that. We have a lot of one-on-one activity going on, small group activity. We have 4 more GIFs days, and last thing we did was celebrated the 100th day of school on Friday. So today was the 101st day of school. That's it.
Thanks, Monica. I can't tell who else is out there. Was Renee out there?
Yeah, Renee's there.
Renee and Dana. Okay. Hello, Renee.
One second.
Okay, hi. Okay, Townsend Elementary. So 2 exciting things. One is our district PBIS coach consultant came in and did an SEL walkthrough of Townsend and created a report. He interviewed students individually and staff. I'm pleased with the report. It looks great. I'm going to take it back to my PBIS team and talk about some of his recommendations. Most had to do with like transition times from lunch to recess. There were some comments about recess on the common, which we'll try to work on. And some of the cool quotes from students was that they could name the expectations. They say recess is a safe place for them, and that all the teachers have the same expectations for them. So that was good to see. End of March, I have some PBIS team members going to the Tier 3 intensive training. So last year, went to the Tier 2, came up with some this great Tier 2 behavior intervention for students, and it's going really successfully. So I'm really excited to see what the team can do at this March training going on to the next level. We typically do some summer work as a team so that we can roll it out to the whole staff so that we're educating everybody. And we have our waffle breakfast on Friday from 8 to 8:45. So if you're around, stop on in.
Thanks, Renee. Hungry already. All right, Dana.
Hi there. Good evening. So Leland and Gray, we have a lot going on. Journey Away launched a few weeks back in terms of getting their students organized and aligned for their work while they're traveling. We did, in fact, complete our data meetings and have realigned our WIN groups. So students are getting specialized instruction around closing gaps and growing in areas where they're ready. For personalized learning, our PBL committee came back and had recommendations for next year. PBL is going to look different at Leland and Gray, and we still have details to figure out, but we will be looking to embed project-based learning into our core classes on a more regular basis. And there was discussion about having, it's called a J term, but an experience whether in January and possibly in June that's more condensed for students to have some project-based learning experiences. It will shift us out of the Wednesday late start schedule that we've had for a couple of years, and we're going to in turn switch and match what Townsend and Newbrook do with early releases and that should make it more helpful for families with students in both places. That committee still has work to do, and I know there's a fair amount of anxiety with change, and so I am going to support them with time so that they can develop their plans and feel confident going into this new style. But I'm going to really have to listen to the committee and see what their what they're telling me. Around high quality staffing, we've been using our staff meetings to work with Up for Learning, which specifically works with group of students around our community, and they ran a staff meeting. So it was the last staff meeting. And interestingly enough, it focused on communication. Communication between students, communication students to staff, staff to students. And they had run an internal survey that they had created, and the outcome of it, the data from it, was interesting and definitely deserves further thought. They had some very specific details that they had surfaced. For instance, humor is being used in a hurtful way. And a number of students brought this up, and we're going to have to really consider how to address this in the future, and even make it part of our more specific work next year. The Vermont NEA will be working with staff actually at our staff meeting tomorrow around code of ethics and professional boundaries. I think that's really cool that they're getting involved with development in our school. And then I was talking with Mike Bingham about projects coming up for the summer and how to keep making progress with lighting, carpeting. There's areas that need to be renovated. And as you already heard, Hoops for Hope was phenomenal. That game Friday night was amazing. And I've probably talked enough, but lots going on. It's going well. Week before vacation, it's all right. It's going well.
Thanks, Dana. And Scotty, I think, yeah. Hi, Scotty.
I'll just highlight a couple of things from Newbrook. I am also really excited. Monica mentioned it, or I'm sorry, Renee mentioned it already. We're working with Greg Stoller. He's a PBIS coach, and he came and walked through our school, and we still haven't gotten the report yet. But today I got an email to me to ask my staff. He was so impressed with the way we open in the morning and he specifically specializes in transitions in schools and the importance of transitions. And he wants to come and film our opening in the morning because he found that it was just very consistent. All the kids got talked to and got settled. He specifically mentioned Pat Pelton and how the kids, they come in through me and Jen, and then they go in through the school and they put their things down. They go and get breakfast, and Pat's there to sign them in for breakfast, but also to say hey and check in on them. And I was really pleased about that. I'm going to actually talk to my staff about it tomorrow. They haven't heard that yet. I don't see anybody in here from my staff, but I'm sure they'll hear about it soon. I'm excited. I also want to mention, and Lindsay maybe has a new figure, but our PTO is doing a fundraiser right now, and Suzanne Paw, our art teacher, also on the PTO, had this idea that we should do it electronically. So it's like a readathon. Lindsay, what is the current number that we've raised in the last 2 weeks?
We are at just over $6,400 in a week.
It's really like, I've never heard of anything like it. It's a phenomenon. So the PTO is going to get to work with the staff to figure out how to spend it. It'll be really fun. Just some more stuff. We had a winter concert thanks to Rebecca Kerr. It was a really beautiful night, very well attended. I got a lot of really nice feedback. I want to thank Taggart Phillips, our phys ed teacher, who is doing a unit on yoga. Every kid in our school is doing yoga in our multipurpose room right now, which is a really healthy thing. And I've never heard of an elementary doing that, and I really love it. I want to also thank Mr. Gragan, who's partnering with Miss Paw, and they're doing one of the artful ice shanties for the contest at the Retreat Meadows farm. And I'm stoked about that. I saw it as it was being carted off today in pieces because they're going to assemble it there, and it looks really beautiful. The kids did a great job. This week is Spirit Week at Newbrook, and today was the 100th day of school. And if you go onto our Facebook page, you'll see a lot of children dressed as if they were 100 years old, which I think just meant that they tried to look like me. But That was just a joke right there. Tomorrow's Wacky Hair and Hat Day. We got Valentine's Day and Sports Day. For Sports Day, I had to pick a jersey, and of course, I picked Marcus Smart's jersey from the Celtics last year, but no one's mentioned it yet. And finally, on the last day of school before break, we've got an artist in residence, and it's the Readathon celebration. We're going to end this whole thing. So we're doing Book Character Day, and I'm really looking forward to the children coming in dressed as their favorite book characters. Finally, I believe a few of our trout have hatched. And so we're, in the next few months, we're going to be seeing those trout grow to what they call fry, which are about an inch long, and then we'll let them go in the grassy brook. Normally we have about 100 fish that we let go, and we invite the reformer, and it's a really fun thing. Thank you guys very much for your work on the budget, and thanks to our central office for taking care of everything for us.
Thanks, Scotty. Any questions or comments for our principals? Hey, Scotty, are you a day behind? I think Monica said her 100th day was on Friday. Did you miss a day?
We are a day behind. I had a well pump die, and we had to miss a day of school. And so I think I'm behind. I think I'm behind everyone, actually. I'm not sure. I'd have to check in with my boss, but I think I'm behind everybody. So yeah, today was the 100th day.
You just wanted to admit that on camera.
Yeah, right. just gonna do it.
Still working on counting.
Yeah. All right, Bob.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys all have received the cabinet report. I think I sent it out last week. I do want to make a public declaration. Those of you that are watching from home, February is School Board Appreciation Month. Did you know that? And so I just want to, as I said in my cabinet report, I just want to just say thank you to all of you folks who do this work. As Scott just pointed out, it's incredibly challenging. The rules are changing all the time, and it's like just trying to adjust and figure out how to best support kids. And I really, in the years I've been working with the West River District, you guys as a board have always been kids first. And I just want to say I really, really appreciate that. And it makes my job a lot easier knowing that you guys have that approach. So I just want to make sure I say thank you for that. And then the second thing I just want to say is I've moved, through the first 6 to 7, 8 months of my role. I have really, Lori is sitting there with you. Jen is not in the meeting, nor is Greg or Stephanie, but I wanted to say how much I appreciate the work of the cabinet and how much guidance and support they've given me and sage advice left and right, emotional support at times. But it's like, I couldn't have asked for a better team to be dropped into the middle of. And I'm very appreciative of that and the work that they do as well. So that's basically all I got. I'm happy to take any questions on anything in the cabinet report if folks have questions there.
Thanks, Bob. Any questions or comments? Appreciate all you do. Thanks, Bob. Right back at you. And all of our principals. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to authorize board chair to sign annual meeting. Oh. Well.
Probably not till next.
Yeah, I think we can.
You can put that on sometime, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Passing over that. Okay. We did have one ad, and that was coaching policy discussion.
Yeah, I think the way I'd like to kind of start the conversation is Bob really said it best, which is kids first. And I sit here in this classroom. It's funny, I look straight across and I see the sign that says safe. Creating and sustaining a safe learning environment where everyone feels comfortable, learning and growing, where everyone feels a sense of belonging. And one of the things that concerns me is that that's not necessarily happening across all of the activities within our district. And as a board member, certainly for many years, we've always had a kids first approach and certainly a desire to make sure that our staff is putting the needs of our kids before everything else, and making sure that those environments are safe. So I'd like to offer a motion to direct the administration to ensure that all district coaching staff create a safe environment for all students and take immediate action to find and retain coaches that demonstrate the values of this district and have the necessary skills to support our students. I'd like to make that as a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay,
I'll get some discussion with me.
all right. Discussion.
So I guess as the motion maker, get to speak first.
Yes.
So the discussion I want to have is about what do we expect? I think there's some confusion as to why it is that we have programs, and is this about the teachers? Is it about the coaches? Or is it about the students, and the students feeling like they're warm, welcome, learning? What is a coach supposed to be doing as part of what their role is here? How do we pick our coaches? Do we simply, because you were the coach last year, does that make you the coach this year? Or is there a process that we go through to make sure that we're picking and selecting a coach that is appropriate for the students that are playing? Or
Drew, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off. Is this straying into a contractual thing? I mean, it's similar to teachers. Coaches also have contracts. So as a board, I don't necessarily feel comfortable if we're talking about contracts openly. Is that fair, Bob?
I'm discussing the policy around what we're asking.
And what is the policy that we're referring to?
It's like I just suggested that the policy of this board.
No,
should be
is there a
that-
specific policy that we're talking about?
Not a specific policy, but what I'm
Okay.
asking for is the board to discuss policy, which is that we expect our coaches to uphold the same values that we have for everyone else. That's all, not a specific contract, just a position. Maybe that position is better than a policy.
Go ahead.
And I don't know if this is a public meetings, but without knowing more, like the general statement you're making sounds really compelling to me, but it sounds like it's addressing a specific situation. And I wonder if that's something we can learn about, especially if it's a concerning situation. I don't know whether it's a staff thing, that question that's not in the board's hands, but and I don't know if an open meeting is the right place for it, but I feel like I'm not understanding the issue behind the policy. And the policy language sounds great, but it also sounds like it's very specifically directed. Sorry.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to say that that's how I'm reading this as well, and I'm wondering if having this be discussed at the board is jumping a chain of command that maybe ought to be considered. I have not heard anything about anything specific from anybody, so it sounds like if we're going to the board level to talk about something that could potentially be specific, that maybe there's a chain of command issue that needs to get addressed. And again, I'm just surmising that based on the conversation.
Good, Drew.
This board can take any position it chooses to. This is not a specific incident. I am making simply a statement about the expected behavior of coaches.
Yeah, I guess I would just say I think that nothing that you said sounds unreasonable to me. I think that that's probably something that's already in place. So if you believe that that's not in place and therefore need a motion to do it, then it sounds like maybe there's something at play, I guess is all I'm saying. Because hiring coaches and hiring teachers, you would obviously want to have people in place who are supportive of students and have kids' best interest at heart. So, it sort of seems like it's baked into the hiring process and the procedures utilized by those that hire anybody for any position, whether it's a drama instructor or a coach or a teacher. So it doesn't sound like a specific policy. It sounds more about how people are following through on a belief system that you believe and maybe others believe that we should in fact have. So it sounds to me like it's a follow through issue is what I'm hearing. But I could be misinformed.
Lindsay.
I'm wondering if there's any chance that Dana could speak to what our current procedures are regarding coaching, and if there's any sort of do students survey their coach at the end of the season and be like, I felt fulfilled this season, or what is the evaluation method that is used in our coaching? Do we have anything? I'm just curious what the current procedure is for that.
Can I just be?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before Dana
Sure.
answers that question, I just want to point out that there is a co-curricular agreement that coaches fall under. So it probably is important at some point for the board to review that agreement. It does talk about hiring. It does talk about evaluation.
There is an evaluation problem.
And it talks about grievance procedures. So I can get that for the next meeting, or I know we're in the middle of a negotiation, so I can't say too much, but anyway, there is that in place.
Are the coaching staff under the collective bargaining agreement? I thought the coaches were separate.
It's a separate agreement. It's a co-curricular agreement with coaches.
Separate
They don't have to
contract?
be employees of the school. They can just be, citizens that get hired to be coaches. And then they fall under that specific agreement.
So is that a separate union? So who are you negotiating with?
Not
Same
really.
union.
What's that?
Same union.
It's the same association.
So the coaches have to be part of the
No, but
teachers
they
union?
fall under the collective bargain agreement for the co-curricular, regardless of whether they're members or not.
Sounds like we need to, there's something already in place, and we would need to have it for our next board meeting to review. I think that would probably be the best thing to do. But of course, there's a motion on the table,
And
so,
I'll call the question.
yeah, okay. All right. And can you repeat the motion again? Sorry.
To direct the administration to ensure that all district coaching staff create a safe environment for all students and take immediate action to find and retain coaches that demonstrate the values of this district and have the necessary skills to support our students.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
No.
Next.
Anybody, sorry. All right, so since we're split, I'm just gonna we'll do a roll call. All right, so let's start again. I'm having difficulty seeing everybody who's on the screen out there.
It's too small.
It is. Yeah. All right, let's start again. All those in favor say aye, who is out in Zoom land. And I am looking at, all right, I'll just go. We know we have Lindsay and Emily out there, right?
And Peter.
And Peter, sorry, okay. Emily, how do you vote?
No.
Lindsay, how do you vote?
I guess I have to vote no because I don't feel like I have enough information.
Okay.
You can't abstain.
Peter, how do you vote?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Leanne?
I'm going to say no because we said we were going to review the co-curricular agreement, correct?
Okay.
That was.
Right. Drew?
Yes.
Yes. Sarah?
Abstain.
Kate?
I'll vote no, but I'd like us to keep discussing this.
Yes.
No.
Joe? Okay, and no. So we have 2 yeses, 1 abstain, and how many noes?
thought you were making tick marks.
Yeah, right. I started. So 2 no's. 1 abstain.
Yes.
2 out there.
I think it's 6-2.
61. Okay, is that everybody? 9? Do we have 9 here? We have 3 out there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. All right. So that is 6 no, 1 abstain, and 2 yes. The motion does not pass. All right. But we will have information at the next meeting. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Excellent. I'm sure our students feel supported.
We'll find out.
In addition to the co-curricular contract, if there is any existing policy that actually addresses this, could we take a look and see if there is anything before we have this discussion? So that we're looking at everything that is already in play?
Are you asking Bob?
Bob, Al, could we direct?
Yes, yes.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
And is there any procedures too, probably? That type of thing?
Right.
Okay.
Right. All the information. Yeah.
Thank you.
Peter, see your hand?
Can you forward that document to me?
Yeah,
Yes, I just wanted to say
I'll forward it
along
to the board.
get the information that was asked of Dana a few moments ago.
Okay, yes.
Got it. Thanks, Peter.
Also get that, please.
Absolutely. All right. Sarah.
I don't know if this would fall under what already has been asked for, but could we also get information on if there's a procedure for reviewing coaches at the end of seasons and if it's being followed through?
Sure. I'm sure it's in the co-curricular, but yeah, whatever information we have. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, it is on to public comment time. Nothing?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
So with that, can we get a survey from the students on all the coaching staff for the last 2 years?
Survey?
Yeah, so if we're gonna evaluate, if the coaches are being evaluated by the teams, can we have that information? We'll obviously have to take it into executive session, but I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for that for the last 2 sessions.
Long time.
Say it again, a survey of.
So if they're doing an evaluation.
Yeah.
To find out if the coaches are meeting the students' needs, if that's being done, which it, by policy sounds like it should be being done, then I'd like to have that information as well. To see what's been said, what's been done, whether the policy's been followed.
So just a quick question. Are you asking to review every evaluation of every coach for the last 2 years as a board?
If we're doing that, if there are in fact evaluations, then we should be able to see those.
Or are we allowed to see evaluations of
teachers?
I guess I'm unclear what the purpose of this is. It doesn't feel right to me.
I'm just curious if it's being done. So maybe it's an aggregate of the data. I don't necessarily need to see, because it doesn't sound like it's being done. That's why I made my motion.
So you're asking for, well, I heard what was asked for before is what the process procedures are for evaluation of coaches. That's what you're asking for? You're not asking for specific coaches' evaluations to be shared with the board.
Is it being done? Like, is that actually happening?
Is there a process, and if so, is it being completed?
Sure, we'll start with that.
Okay.
It's fair. All right. No public comment? Okay, let's move into executive session for 2 separate contractual. Let's see, first one is, I move to find that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the board at a substantial disadvantage. Second.
Second. Don't we need Lori for the first one?
Yes, we do. Hey,
Don't
Lori.
go anywhere, Lori.
Oh,
We need you for the first one.
oh, for the first one?
Yeah,
I thought it was,
yeah.
you were doing a contractual.
All those in favor of the first motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Second motion, I motion to enter executive session under 1 VSAS 313A1 for the purpose of discussing contracts with employees.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries, and we will move into executive session. All right, we are back out of executive session, and we have no action to take. So I will entertain that final motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Oh, you got it.
And second, with Kate. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, see you folks next week for our special meeting on February 21st at 7 p.m. Have a good night.